All right. It's morning time. And we've got our short class today. If you have 2 blocks, they would be useful for today's class. Or even like a little stool or a stack of pillows for when we get to that part. We'll wait another minute or two to get started. But today's class is actually based on a yoga movement screen that I did this week. And I thought that the things that she needed to do, everyone could do. So we'll make a class based on what her needs were. And so she can come to this class and we can all kind of work on those things together in this 30-minute class we'll do. Stuff for our whole body, work on lots of hip stuff, and so it'll be nice. We'll just do it all together. Take my socks off. And we'll wait one more minute to get started. And I have windows that I can see out there that way, and the sunrise is pretty stunning. The colors of the sunrise this morning. So we will start seated or kneeling, whatever is most comfortable for you. Go ahead and just start to bring your awareness to your breath. And just notice the quality of your breath and the energy in your body this morning, how you're feeling. On your next few breaths, just really let your exhale get long. So you can take a natural inhale and then draw your exhale out as long as you possibly can. And just feel that settling through your body with your exhale. And then just start to find some really gentle rocking of your head from side to side. It doesn't have to be very big, just little rocking ear to shoulder, other ear to shoulder. And you can have your eyes open or closed. And you can start to let those rocks get just a little bit bigger and maybe turn into little circles. And then maybe your circles get just a little bit bigger. And you can start to let your upper spine kind of mirror what's happening with your head and your neck. So as your head kind of tips to the left, maybe your rib cage kind of reaches toward the right. And as your chin tips forward, maybe the back of your heart reaches behind you. You can let those circles kind of get bigger with your shoulders and your spine and your head kind of all involved. And then switch directions. There's not really any right or wrong. Just want you to start kind of feeling into your body and waking up your awareness. And then let it become pretty intuitive. You can even use some leverage of your hands on your knees if you're kneeling or seated. And as you really push your spine back, you can round and go the other direction, circles. And then just let that movement kind of gradually get smaller and smaller until you come to a centered seat. We'll just do some work with our hands. So just bring your hands in front of you with your palms face up and your thumbs close in. So I've got my hands in this shape and just palms face up and your elbows are bent about 90 degrees, okay? And now we'll just tip. We're going to try to keep our hands in this position, so not bending at our knuckles at all. We're going to do some circles with our wrists. Just bring your pinkies in and then tip your fingers down and then push out toward the thumb side. Try to keep your forearms still and then come on up and then pull your hands in toward the pinky side and around. So try to keep your hands as flat as you can and your forearms as still as you do some circles of your wrists in this direction. And then you can just switch. So go out to the thumb side and then down in toward the pinky side and then up. Trying to keep your hands as flat as possible, not bending at your knuckles. I've got lots of cricks and cracks. And after you've done a few times that way, keep your forearms as they are, but just turn your palms face down and try to keep that same arrangement. And now we'll come in toward the thumb side and push down out toward the pinky side and around. So pretty slow, controlled movement. And trying to push to the end of your range of motion there. And then switch directions. And trying to keep your forearms as still as you can, and then you can shake that out. We're going to do some circles with our fingers. So you're going to make as big of a circle as you can. Just hold your hands with your fingers just kind of naturally spread. And just start with your thumbs. And just make some circles with your thumbs. As big of a circle as you can draw with each of your thumbs. And then go the other direction. Just do 1 or 2 in each direction. I don't want to spend forever on this. And then with your pointer fingers, just steer them. Keep your fingers straight, but from the base of the knuckle, just make as big of a circle as you can. And then go the other direction. And then your middle fingers. You're just going to keep that finger straight and reach it around in as big of a circle as you can. And then switch directions. And you know, some of your fingers will kind of move together. That's pretty fine and normal, but you're just exploring that range of motion. And then your ring finger. In both directions. And then pinky finger. As big as you can. 1 or 2 times in each direction. And then shake that out and fold yourself forward onto hands and knees and come back into pretty active child's pose. So you don't have to have your head on the floor, just hips towards your heels any amount. And then lift your fingers up off the floor. And bend just right at your wrist, so then lengthen through your hands. And just stretch and push down into your forearms. And now just start tapping your whole hands to the floor. Lift your hips gradually, and you can let your taps get faster, and keep your elbows straight and come up as far as you can, keeping your fingers tapping and your elbows straight. So today I can't come up very far and keep my right elbow straight. Do that a little bit longer and then release. Take a few circles kind of around your wrists. Just play with that load in your hands. And really think about weight under your fingernails and kind of on the pinky edge of your hand. And we'll move into some palm raises. So again, you can keep your hips back towards your heels and just lift your palms. So your 4 fingers stay on the floor, your thumb and your palms lift. And just lift, and then you can gradually start rocking your shoulders forward towards over your wrists, as long as you can keep your elbows straight and keep this going. So that will adjust the load on those muscles that are working. And if you can have your shoulders stacked over your wrists, you could even walk your knees back. Let's just do 2 more there. And then take the fingers of one of your hands and just turn them around toward your knees. You can soften through your elbow, kind of stretch through that forearm. And then keep your 4 fingers on the floor, lift your palm and your thumb, and just take your thumb and stir it in some circles there. Go each direction a couple of times. And then you can shake out that hand and just do the other. Just turn it out and fingers back toward your knee. And soften through your elbow. And then ground through your fingers. Just lift your palm and your thumb and stir that thumb in some circles. In both directions. And then release that. Bring the backs of your hands to the floor, fingers facing each other, palms face up, and then you can just rock from side to side. And then maybe bend elbows and push yourself back up a couple of times. Lengthen yourself back into child's pose. And your head may or may not come to the floor. Reach your arms long in front of you, and then lift your right arm up off the floor. Bend your elbow and tap your hand to the base of your neck or the top of your upper back. And then lengthen that arm back out. Swim it out to the right. You'll internally rotate that shoulder, and then bend your elbow and bring the back of your hand to your lower back. And then just swim around that like that a couple of times. So lengthen that arm forward, swim it out to the side, bend your elbow, back of your hand hovers over your lower back. Lengthen it back out, swim it forward, bend your elbow and your fingers tap your upper back. Let's do that one last time, and then we'll do the other side. Just swim your arm forward, plant that right arm, and float your left. Bend your left elbow, tap the top of your back, and then lengthen it out. Swim it out around, and then bend your elbow and bring your hand to your lower back. And just go 2 or 3 times through that full range. Really think about reaching all the way around. Let's reach forward, around, hover the back of that hand and your lower back. Reach forward. Settle for a second. And then we'll slide onto our bellies. Make a pillow for your forehead with your hands. Root down into your pubic bone. And then just lift your right leg, straight right leg up off the floor. And then lower. So just turn on the whole back of that leg. Feel your glute turn on. Lift the left leg and lower. So think of making your lower back really long as you lift. Just kind of working on that hip extension there. And that glute strength. If this is a lot on your lower back, it can be nice to have a folded blanket. Grab this. So if you come back to this, you can have a folded blanket like under the front of your pelvis. And that can give you a little more leverage to lift your legs. Let's go back and forth 2 more times. And then really root down into the tops of those feet. And keep your head attached to your stacked hands. And then lift your elbows wide. Lift your head and chest up off the floor. And then lower. And we'll just do 4 there. Just lift and lower. Pushing into the tops of your feet. Last one. And then relax, kind of shake your bum from side to side. And take your left arm to a cactus shape on the floor. You can use a pillow of a block under your head, or your head can be on the floor. And just bring your right hand to your right chest. Drop that left shoulder toward the floor, and then you can stretch and rotate to the left any amount. So your hips may stack. You may take those right toes behind you. Just breathe into the front of that left shoulder. And then unwind. And we'll do the other side. You just got a 90-degree bend in your elbow, and your elbow's a little higher than your shoulder. If it's really intense, you could have a straight arm, and that'll kind of make it less intense in the front of that shoulder. Turn your head to the left. You can bring your left hand by your chest and roll to the right. Any amount. So it may just be shifting your weight a little bit to the right. Relax through the front of that right shoulder. Breathe into that stretch. And then unwind yourself. Look forward and push yourself up into a table. We're going to play with our downward facing dog here. And we're going to try, I'm going to fold my mat over. So I've got some thickness, and then put the meaty part of my palm on the fold of the mat and my fingers down lower. Okay. So I've got a little bit of lift underneath my palm. You could do this on the edge of a folded blanket also, or a folded towel. But just kind of play here with a few rounds of cat and cow. with a little bit of lift under your palms. Dropping your belly, connecting your movement with your breath in a way that makes sense. And then you can drop that belly, kind of lift your sitting bones, tuck your toes, and then lengthen yourself up and back into a downward facing dog with the support underneath your palms. And then inhale, rock forward to a plank. Exhale to bend your knees to hover, and then just push yourself up and back. We're just kind of getting into our shoulders in this waving dog. Floating your knees and then hips up and back. Come into a plank. Float your knees. Let's just do that one more time. And then pause there. And soften your knees, and then just with your hands, walk your hands back toward your feet and find a standing forward fold here. Soften your knees as much as you need to so you're feeling this in the backs of your legs. Let your head hang heavy. And then bend your knees and inhale up to chair pose. And reach your arms high. So draw those front low ribs in and feel some support and strength through your lower back. Bring some weight into your heels. And then go ahead and push into your heels. Come all the way up to standing and stretch high. And then exhale your hands down along your sides. Let's take our folded mat if you've got it folded. We're going to fold it even a little more. So I'm just rolling my mat up. And we'll come and stand with our heels lifted on that folded mat. And I'm going to step my heels about as wide as my mat and let my toes go out. We'll just work on some squats here. So you can have your hands at your heart. And then reach your sitting bones back to sit down in a squat. And then come all the way back up. And we want to find strength and support through our whole range of motion. So find that feedback of that support under your heels. And go pretty slow. So lower down slowly as far as you can, that you can push yourself back up. So we're just going really slow in these squats and just feeling that whole range of motion in our ankles, our knees, and our hips. Your spine and shoulders probably will get involved. And try to come down with a pretty straight spine. And so if you don't come down all the way, that's totally fine. Let's just do 2 more. I lost count. I've got some cricks and cracks happening in my knees, and that's totally fine. And then go ahead and step off your roll and just unroll your mat. And this is where our 2 blocks will come in handy. We're actually going to use them as a seat. So if you don't have a little seat, you could use a chair. You could go find a stool. You could stack some cushions or couch pillows. I'm going to sit on something. So we're in this supported squat. And your toes and your knees are just in the same plane. So just let your toes naturally go where they want to go, so you feel aligned through your hips. Your knees and toes are aligned. And then energetically, like, reach your knees away from each other and let your spine be tall. I'll turn to the side for a second. So you don't want this to be happening. Think about tall spine and feeling your sitting bones on that support underneath you. And just think about that lift. You can think of what's happening in your pelvic floor and lift from there all the way up through the roof of your mouth. And just take a couple of breaths. So as you inhale, you can let your pelvic floor release and relax. And imagine that diaphragm kind of pushing down into your belly. And as you exhale, pelvic floor lifts, diaphragm lifts and pushes that air out, right? And you can find that lift in the soft palate at the back of your roof of your mouth. Inhale to find that softened and expansion. And then exhale, let everything lift as it leaves your body. And then we'll start to find some movement here. So just one at a time, we're just going to lift our foot up off the floor. Right foot and then left foot. So you're using this hip flexor strength, and you're using some core strength just to do some engagement through those hip flexors and feel what's happening in the support of your core. Try to keep your weight evenly on each of your sitting bones. And then even yourself out and go ahead and end. Turn to face you again. Just take a nice side bend. So bring your left forearm down inside of that left knee and take your right arm up and over. And then switch. Press that right forearm into that right inner knee. Up and over. And then unwind. Just going to alternate some internal and external rotation of each of our legs. So kind of windshield wipering, bringing right knee in and out, left knee in and out. And try to move pretty slowly, isolating this movement using all that hip strength as you come in and out with each of your legs. Let's just go one more time on each side. That tall spine. And then push into your feet. Just bring your hands forward. And then you can find a standing forward fold. Maybe parallel your feet as you lift your hips up off your blocks. And then come all the way to standing. Reach high and just find some length through the front of your body. So engage through your glutes. You can find even a little sense of a back bend. And then release that. Move your blocks out of the way. We'll come down to the floor with 90-90 legs. So we'll start with this right shin in front. So your knee is in line with your hip. And then your left knee is in line with that left hip straight out. And both of your knees are bent at a 90-degree angle. And flex into your feet. Lean away from that back leg as much as you need to just feel some freedom in this left hip here. And flex through your right foot with all of your might. Push that right knee down into the floor. And then release that effort. And then push. And think of that whole outer edge of your leg pushing down. So your outer ankle, your outer shin, your outer knee, your outer thigh pushing into the floor. And then release that effort. And then one last time, push down the whole leg, outer leg. And then release. And now, it may just happen in your imagination. Think of lifting your foot up off the floor as you push your knee down. And then release that. And then push your knee down. Lift that foot up any amount. And try that one more time. Push your knee down. Lift your foot up. It's just in my imagination mostly. And then release. And then flex through that foot. Keep your shin in one piece and lift your shin up off the floor. And lower it down. And just do that 3 times. Lift your shin and lower. And it may not come up, but you've just got that effort. And lower. And then just kind of rub that leg out. Your back leg. Push your knee and your shin and your flexed foot into the floor. And then release that effort. So we're just doing these isometric holds. Push, inner knee, inner shin into the floor. And then release. And one last time, push. And then release. Now ground through that knee and just lift your heel up off the floor. And do that 3 times. Lift that heel. You'll feel that glute med. And now lean away as much as you need to. Lift that right shin parallel with the floor, or left shin, sorry. And lower. Lift and lower and lift and lower. And then lean back on your hands. We're just going to switch sides. So left shin in front of you. Right leg out to the side. So your knee is in line with your hip. And then lean away from that bottom leg as much as you need to. With all of your might, push down into this left knee and shin and ankle and thigh. And then release that effort. And then again, push everything down. And then release that effort. And one last time, push. And then release that effort. And now try pushing into that left knee and lifting your foot. And then release. And push down into that knee and lift your foot. Do that one more time. And now in one piece, lift that whole shin. 1, 2, 3. And then your back leg. Push that whole inner leg into the floor with all of your might. And then release that effort. And then push, 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 push. And then release. And then push. And release. And now push your knee down, lift your heel. And lower. Push your knee down and lift your heel. And lower. And lift your heel. And lower. And now lift that shin. And lower. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. And then bring your hands behind you. Kind of shake that out. Windshield wiper your knees from side to side. And then open your legs wide for a wide-legged seated forward fold. Knees and toes point in the same direction. And let's just start by finding some circles with our torso. So you can go in one direction a couple of times and then go in the other direction. Just kind of getting friendly with our legs and inner thighs, and then go the other direction twice. And let those circles get a little bit bigger. And then you can go the other way. And just keep being friendly with yourself. Maybe walk your hands out. You can sway a little bit. And you may find a place that you just want to hold. It may be up here. And you can stay here for as long as you want. We'll just stay for 2 more breaths. Think about kind of drawing your pubic bone toward the back wall behind you as you lengthen your heart forward. And then walk your hands in. Bring your hands back behind your knees. Just bring those legs in. And go ahead and come down onto your back. And just find one bridge that you can hold just through the fronts of your hips. So think of finding some support and strength in your glutes, not in a way that's clenching them together, but just deep support right around your sitting bones. So feel that connection of your heels into the floor, and keep your knees tracking over your heels. So don't let your knees go wide. Lengthen your tailbone toward your knees. Find some space underneath your neck. And then release down. Bring your arms out to a T. Just bring your knees into your chest. You can drop your knees over to your left and look to your right. I like to bring my left hand to my knee, look over to the right. And then with that right arm, you can kind of find a nice line of tension. Palm face up or face down, whatever kind of feels good in that shoulder. Just find a place that really feels like friendly, interesting, something that's opening and expansive for you. And then come back through center and just twist the other way. So knees to the right, gaze to the left. And you can play with the placement of that left arm to find a line of tension that feels good in your body. That just feels like a nice stretch, like something you need. And then come back to center. Just take your knees and just steer them in circles a couple of times. I'm going to end with a happy baby or anything else that might feel really good in your body. And then release all the way into your final rest. And again, bring that awareness to your exhales. And let your exhale feel really long and settling. You can inhale naturally. And then just draw your exhale out as long as you possibly can. encourage you to stay here for longer if you have 5 minutes. Let yourself just totally relax and let go. And when you're ready, you can bend your knees, roll to one side, push yourself up. Divine light in me honors the divine light in you. Thanks for moving with me today. Namaste.